the first to know Nsem-Pii TV.
John Dramani Mahama the Babetu Ija said Ghana force one abre yen Chief Justice Otisu Yemami Gertrude Tokonu John Dramani Mahama said we receive petition Marco Miensa Edia Dance say Ghana for say online Chief Justice Yemami Gertrude Tokonu na say akunya amino ka say John Dramani Mahama so etimi afawadi petitions no de akwakoma Council of State say wonye na wonhwem na hwe be nyamepa otena Supreme Court call akotena say na yebekai asem no eba efoforo no otafo MP Vincent asefo anso tabiri asem no de kokopie mu ewo Supreme Court no Supreme Court eguso na ene Paul etimi the document no edi adanse petition miensa no eba no na die ehu om ne say yewra chikata nso din aba bi piemu bi na die den na chikata din eba bi piemu bi yenko tie.
The Lord Chief Justice unfairly and unjustifiably ordered for the arrest in open court, and that the order is an abuse of office. So the petitioner here is alleging that the CJ unfairly ordered for the his arrest in open court, and that the order is an abuse of the office of the Chief Justice. News portals that we found have reported that it was he, the petitioner, that was ruled to the bench, not just the Chief Justice, but the entire quorum that sat on the matter. Quorum just means the panel. Was ruled to the bench, and hence necessitating the arrest of the petitioner for contempt of court. So here is a petitioner who is a lawyer. He had a case in court. He went to the court. He was unhappy with it. He was unhappy with the verdict. And then he started throwing tantrums in the court before all the panel. The Chief Justice was sitting before all the panel. And what do? If it's in Parliament, the Speaker is going to ask for the marshal. We know that already. The Speaker will say, where's the marshal? Hey, take him out. If I go to Parliament and I smuggle myself in the chamber while they are sitting, and before they see I'm in the chamber and I say, hey, good evening, Ghana, come today. Hey, marshal, take this man out. And the marshal will come and bundle me away. If I wrestle with the marshal, he will hit me. If I hit him, the policeman will come. So that's what it is. So this petitioner then sends a petition to President Mahama that I went to court and Chief Justice said they should arrest me in the court. So President Mahama receives it and they are looking at it. And then even when you check the date on which the thing occurred, and you check the date of there's a platform called the Law Platform where many lawyers are. It was reported in a Law Platform and completely condemned. That's where we got the information from. Completely condemned by all the lawyers. How can you do that? So he is petitioner number one. It's not very complicated to dismiss a petition like that, but we are not the Council of State and we are not the President. But from what we found, this is a no petition. In fact, the petitioner should be fined. He should be fined for bringing a petition, wasting the taxpayers' time, wasting Council of State time. But that's our verdict. We don't know what the President and the Council of State will decide. But the facts of the matter, as we check it, which we can all prove it, that on this occasion, this guy went to court and he threw tantrums before the court, and then the court said, well, sorry, we have to get you out, and they took him out. That is his allegation. Now, there's a second petition. Here, the petitioner alleges that the Chief Justice's recommendations for the appointment of more justices to the bench was unconstitutional. This ground has already been subject of other petitions, and the same ground has been dismissed. Further, a mere recommendation to the President does not usurp the President's powers to nominate members of the Supreme Court. This is a very interesting conversation, this one, because when it happened on social media, some members of the National Democratic Congress were sharing the document, and I'm not sure what the course of action is, but let's discuss it. So the allegation is that the Lord Chief Justice wrote a letter to the President in response to a conversation, a request from the President, an oral request from the President, because the letter says, pursuant to our conversation, so and so and so. So the President Akufo-Addo in question here, the President had a conversation with the Chief Justice, made an oral sort of request that, can you send me some names for consideration for Supreme Court? That's what is in the document. And then the allegation here for the grounds of impeachment is that and this came in the Kweku Asare document. It was in the Kweku Asare document, and President Akufo-Addo dismissed it, but they've repeated it. So I don't know what the Council of State is going to do about that. He says that the recommendation that she has made recommendations for justices to come onto the Supreme Court and is unconstitutional. It's very difficult to assess this matter because the recommendations for the Supreme Court that the president takes, he can even take it from me. He can take it from anybody. He doesn't have to tell whoever what he's done. When the president is ready, he will take his pen with the secretary in front of him, write a list of names, and send it to the Speaker of Parliament. When the letter gets to the Speaker of Parliament, it is not part of the Speaker of Parliament's job to find out that, Mr. President, the name Paul Adumochi came from who? The name Paul Adumochi came from John Mahama. Because you, President, John Mahama is your friend. And the other day, we saw that you and John Mahama were at the Pinkberry at Hacho, near the Chicken Man. So we suspect that it's John Mahama who did this. And then they go and write a letter and say that John Mahama has made recommendation to President and that is not his job. So we are impeaching John Mahama as Chief Justice. I don't even get it. Whatever conversation the President and the Chief Justice had is inconsequential to the legal process. You cannot therefore say that the Chief Justice was making recommendations to the Supreme Court. It is the President who can complain. That's why I was asking that what is the course of action? Who is complaining? If the Chief Justice has usurped the President's authority, it's the President who is the proper complainant in the matter. He can come and say that, hey, Mr. Speaker, the Chief Justice is usurping my authority because he has sent you a list when it should be me. But I don't see the head and tail of this. The list went to the Speaker from the President's hand. Finito, end of story. Whether Judicial Council participated and they have a right to do so under the Constitution, Chief Justice is a member of that. Whether the Chief Justice in his individual capacity wrote something to the President, whether a former Supreme Court judge sitting at home observed that the President was about to make nominations, wrote something to the President, said, Mr. President, please consider A, B, C, D. Justice Pegan is still alive. He's a former Supreme Court judge. If there are opportunities for Supreme Court, he can write to President Mahama and say, Mr. President, please consider Mr. Paul Adumochi, Mr. Godfrey Dame, Bafuewa for Supreme Court because I think they are good judges or they are good lawyers. They are doing something like that. This is what they are saying, that because she wrote a letter to the President making recommendations, she should be impeached because she was doing an unconstitutional act. Who is complaining? This is the President's job. The President did his job. The President does his job by writing to the Speaker. The President did that job and wrote to the Speaker. The vetting was conducted. What is the point about this? But we are not the Council of State. The Council of State will look at it. But this is one of the petitions. Let's move on to the more detailed one. Now, this petition, we're going to take quite a bit of time to deal with it because it's from a man called Daniel Ofori. Yeah? Now, let me explain to you about Daniel Ofori so that you can get it well. In 2011, Daniel Ofori sued EcoBank to enforce the terms of a shared trade transaction between the parties. This would have compelled EcoBank to provide funds for Daniel Ofori to acquire shares in another bank. The High Court ruled in EcoBank's favor. Okay. Daniel Ofori is a very active guy at the Ghana Stock Exchange. He's one of the reasons why the stock exchange has been active. He's been there for a while. Daniel Ofori entered into a transaction with EcoBank. Sorry, we have to mention EcoBank's name, but the other bank we will not mention. And Daniel Ofori wanted a loan from EcoBank to acquire shares in another bank whose they had done, what do the bankers call it? A call-up offer. How do they call it? After the IPO and they need money and they do a call-up, that thing. So they had done a call-up offer, and so Daniel Ofori, as a shareholder, wanted to maintain his shares and acquire a few more shares. So he wrote to EcoBank for a loan, and then I think they were doing the transaction when, for some reason, the Bank of Ghana decided that that bank cannot do that XYZ, something like that. So in 2011, EcoBank then refused to advance Daniel Ofori the money. So Daniel Ofori sues in the High Court, saying that EcoBank has to give him the money. Okay. Now, the High Court rules against Daniel Ofori that you cannot have that. You can't have that. The case is entitled, I believe, Daniel Ofori versus EcoBank or EcoBank versus Daniel Ofori. There's Daniel Ofori versus EcoBank. There's EcoBank, Daniel Ofori, several of them around. Okay, so this is the said Daniel Ofori. So he sued, and the High Court said, no, you can't have the money. Then he goes to Court of Appeal. The Court of Appeal confirms the decision. This is in 2013. The Court of Appeal confirms the decision of the High Court and held that EcoBank was not bound to pay the sum owed to Daniel Ofori. Entered the Supreme Court in 2018. The Supreme Court ruled in favor of Daniel Ofori and held that Daniel Ofori was entitled to a sum of 13.2 million Ghana cedis and 30% interest on the said sum from the date accrued from June 2008. Now, the first transaction was in 2008. The conversation about buying shares of another bank was in 2008. that was the dates, 2008 to the dates of the judgment in July 2018. It's very interesting. Okay, so at this stage, Daniel Ofori has won the Supreme Court's decision. All right. At this time, Justice Tokonu is not a member of the Supreme Court. Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu is not a member of the Supreme Court at the time the Supreme Court made this decision. All right. Now, EcoBank discovered instances of alleged fraud in the share transfer, and hence the case should be reopened. The court rejected the application and refused a review of the decision. This is very interesting. So later on, Justice Tokonu becomes a member of the bench of the Supreme Court. Now, EcoBank, in now looking at the matter, as Supreme Court says that they have lost, they need to pay Daniel Ofori so much money. They are looking at it, and their lawyers discovered that, but there's some fraud in the application, in the first High Court application. Look at the documents that he presented. Okay, so they allege fraud. Now, once you allege fraud in any matter, you can always go back to the court and say, oh, my laws, wait. I have now observed some fraud, and they should look at it. So EcoBank applied for the Supreme Court to reopen the matter, and they failed in that application. The Supreme Court did not reopen the matter. Then the EcoBank appealed against the Supreme Court's decision not to reopen the matter. I believe it's at this stage that Gertrude Tokonu is now part of the court, the Supreme Court. And in the review application, I think Gertrude Tokonu participates in the review application. EcoBank still lose the review application, but now it's not unanimous anymore. Justice Tokonu is able to convince other Supreme Court judges, including Justice Doche, to rule on her side, because in her argument, something called compound interest, based upon which the Supreme Court took their decision, is a nullity, because compound interest, she said, had been nullified by Parliament. There's nothing like compound interest. How can then the court calculate compound interest? These are the arguments in the document. So some of them sway on that side, but the majority are still with Daniel Ofori. Okay. EcoBank thereafter go to the High Court, seeking to stop the execution of the ruling of the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court they will not hear them on reopening the case, and they lost the review on that by a slimmer verdict than the unanimous 5-0 that they lost by in 2018, which was to say that they owe Daniel Ofori, they should go and pay. They come back and say, yes, we may owe him, but there's fraud. Supreme Court says, I will not listen to the fraud. They appeal against that, and then some Supreme Court judges, including Justice Tokonu, think that, look, you should listen to this because compound interest that you are talking about doesn't even exist anyway. So EcoBank now go to the High Court and ask the High Court judge that we have observed this fraud. Can you stop the execution of the Supreme Court ruling? And any court, even a lower court, can stop a decision of an implementation of a decision of a higher court, so long as there's fraud. It's in the rules. So that is where we are. So EcoBank has now won the High Court's position that the thing should, the implementation, the execution should hold, stay of execution, that execution should be stayed pending the final determination of their fraud case against the said Daniel Ofori. Chachuchi Kata is one of the important lawyers of Daniel Ofori. Now, Daniel Ofori is a petitioner against the Lord Chief Justice. Let's look at it. Hello, Mr. Chachuchi Kata, how are you? We are talking about you on TV tonight. Not in bad terms, but in very neutral terms. So, Mr. Chikata is one of the most important lawyers of Daniel Ofori. And I told you to get me the video of Chikata and Tokonu. Please look out for it. Let's use it. All right. So, okay, Mr. Chikata, thank you very much. Good. Now, so Daniel Ofori writes a petition to oust Justice Tokonu as Chief Justice. We are saying and giving you the history because Daniel Ofori feels that, and he's told people that it is because Justice Tokonu came to the Supreme Court that his matter started becoming logoligi, lagalaga, logoligi, lagalaga. Daniel Ofori feels that it is Justice Tokonu, or perhaps Daniel Ofori is being told by his lawyers that it is Justice Tokonu who is in fact, in the petition, he directly points to Justice Tokonu sitting on the EcoBank case. Listen, let's start. All right. Daniel Ofori starts with money, suspecting that Justice Tokonu has spent some money and she used some money to travel, and the money that she used to travel is not for her, it's for government and blah, 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 blah. Let's look at it. Okay. This is on the left is the allegation that Chief Justice misappropriated a sum of 261,000 Ghana cedis of public funds for private travel. Daniel Ofori further alleges that the CJ traveled with her spouse, that is her husband, and with and child, with the aforementioned public funds when her spouse and child are neither members of the judiciary nor work within the judicial service. So this is Daniel Ofori's first allegation. There are 3 categories of allegation: financial, court matters, and then another one. I'll show you all. Give me just 5 minutes. So this is the matter, that she has spent this amount of money traveling with her husband and her daughter. This is what we found. That the said travel package is provided for in paragraph A9 of the policy on foreign travels by the head of the judiciary and superior courts judges, approved in 2010 and reviewed in 2019. And it allows the CJ to bring along a spouse and another person of her choice on foreign travels. This has served 4 Chief Justices, to wit, Georgina Wood, Sophia Kufu, Justice Eni-Yeboah, and Justice Tokonu, the present CJ. So where is Daniel Ofori coming from? Even we were able to find the policy on travel, and that's what we did. Once we saw the thing, I said, okay, let's get the today is what, Tuesday. We've been working on this since, I think, last Friday. So we said, let's get the policy. Is there not a policy for traveling? So we picked up the policy. It is clear in there. And in fact, in some of the instances we saw, Justice Tokonu, when she traveled, she came back and returned cash of nearly $9,000 to the judicial service. That I didn't spend all the money. This is the rest of the money. When I saw it, I was telling my people that, but this, my Lord, $9,000 you can issue to buy. Say that you bought books from London or something, buy something. And they said, well, that's how she is. She's like that. She came, she brought the money back. So because they raised this allegation, it has allowed people now to look at it. And everybody's finding out, oh, the last time Justice Tokonu traveled, we gave her some money. She brought back $9,000 that she didn't use it. This is the kind of person they want to impeach for corruption. So how many ministers, how many ministers travel with the impress and come back and go and give the money to the chief director that I didn't spend the money, finance manager, here's your money. No, people don't do that. I'm not saying they should do that. But I'm saying when you have somebody who has done that, this is not the person that you say is corrupt. You cannot say that is corrupt in the same breath of a person who takes money and returns the rest of the money. You cannot say that. But anyway, so this is the policy. And viewers, you can check, you can verify. Tomorrow, call the judicial secretary, journalists, everybody, check. What is the travel policy at the judiciary? Check it, it's there. They'll give it to you. They gave it to us easy. They'll give it to you. It's a public document. It's not a secret. And the document says that it is, so it's in paragraph A9. So when you take the policy, don't go far. Just look at paragraph 9, A9. Just look at paragraph A9. And that policy is on foreign travels. It's by the head of the judiciary. So this is a policy that came in 2010. It has existed and it was reviewed in 2019. Reviewed to add security, actually. It has existed for Justice Georgina Wood, Justice Sophia Kufu, Justice Eni-Yeboah, and Justice Tokonu. And this is what they want to impeach her on. That she traveled with her husband and traveled with her daughter. And this is the money that Justice Tokonu returned, $9,000. This is 260 something. That's what they're talking about. Is that not what they're talking about? No, that was another one. Another 14,000. So they have 2 of her trips. This one and another one. The one that she returned the money. They don't say she returned the money. Maybe they don't know. Daniel Ofori doesn't know. I can understand. But this is what we found out. Anyway, let's go to the next one. It says, this is a very important one. Very, very, very important. Again, because Mr. Chikata is lawyer for Daniel Ofori, and Mr. Chikata is also lawyer for Jachi Kwesin. And the Attorney General told us in his press conference, when he was asked by journalists, why didn't you enter nolle prosequi for Jachi Kwesin? Dominic Ayini told the journalist that Chachu Chikata has told him that as far as he, Mr. Chikata, is concerned, the Jachi Kwesin case will be won. So he need not enter nolle prosequi. This is the conversation the Attorney General reported. This kind of conversation going on in the judicial circle. This is what the Attorney General reported. The learned Attorney General told Ghanaians that he did not enter nolle prosequi for Jachi Kwesin because Mr. Chachu Chikata, who is lawyer for Jachi Kwesin, has told him, Dominic Ayini, that as far as he, Mr. Chikata, is concerned, the Jachi Kwesin case is doable. And so he doesn't need a nolle prosequi. So was he entering nolle prosequi for cases that are not doable? What is the meaning of doable? What is doable? 2-3 days ago, Jachi Kwesin won his case. And they put powder on his head. and on Mr. Chikata. So you see, sometimes the dots are coming together a little bit. Daniel Ofori, then in his petition to Mr. President Mahama,